Good evening, everybody. We are back. Preparations for the 2024 Formula Sprint 1 season are well underway. My name is Eoin Harmon, and I'm returning to the commentary box for this 2024 campaign. And alongside me, also returning, we'll say hello to Ed Hunter. Ed, welcome back. How are you keeping?
Hey, Eoin. It's great to be back after a long off-season in FS1, of course. But yeah, lots of big changes to get into. New teams moving up from FS2, and of course teams that competed last season coming back for, in some cases, full season campaigns, in other cases just to improve on what they did last year. So it's going to be very, very different to last year, especially with our reigning champion Jack Mayer moving on, and even Simon Frelick going to take the year off essentially to do other things essentially, and we wish him all the best as well, of course. So our two title protagonists from last year not going to be taking part, so it could be a very, very wide open season.
Yeah, very true. FS1 has certainly delivered with Carlos Martin as well. He's gone to TOP in Super League.
Top three gone, yeah.
They're all the way up in the top division nowadays. And Alex Lahoo is another driver. We have a lot of memories of him from the past, but yeah, it's all about the present here at Yeongam in South Korea, and the variety of teams that are rebranded from last season, or in the case of Luke Mitchell here in the Lunark, he's joined the team, but they participated from the halfway point when Butler Motorsport had to withdraw. So yeah, Lunark are one team that are definitely worth watching if you're new to the series, with Luke Mitchell and Bradley Sellers on board. They'll be hoping to, have their very best shot with the full campaign underneath them, and yeah, they would be outsiders for the title race. But at the moment, top of the leaderboards, it's Matthews Machka for Alpha Delta. He must be the reserve. I'm sure. Yes, he certainly is. Yeah, so he's reserve driver for Alpha Delta, but their lineup, Ed, is stable from last year. Mirko Lucchini and Federico Russo are locked in for another campaign. Yeah, excellent for that team. They had some promising results last year, but 7th place in the team's championship. Yeah, they'll be definitely improving or seeking an improvement on that.
Yeah, very good in qualifying, Lucchini and Russo. Often very little to choose between them within the races. Couple of difficult races, mistakes. They often would not finish as high as they qualified. But both of them were able to get a podium each last season. With, I believe, Russo impressing a lot in the wet conditions at Spa, and Lucchini gaining a podium at Monza. It might be the other way around, I can't remember, because they're both Italians driving for an Italian team, so it can be a little bit confusing. But Micah, of course, the reserve driver there, Matthias Micah, who won both races in the opening Academy round of 2024, and has got, I believe, there's lots of talks going around that he might be close to being announced to sign with an FS2 team for next season. So he's maybe got one eye on FS1. He wouldn't be surprised to see a team use him as a substitute if one of their regulars can't be there, as it may indeed be the case for Alpha Delta if Russo or Lucchini is sidelined. But they did take part, I believe, in almost all of the races last year, so it might be another team that he gets the opening at. But certainly if he can get a great time here in testing, and he's 1:43.0, that's very, very impressive out of the gates in the first 20 minutes or so of this session. Then Mike is looking good, and it certainly seems to be the man of the moment in recent history, the Polish driver.
Absolutely, yeah. There's plenty of encouragement to look forward to from our Polish contingent. Hyperion, for example, they've got 3 Matthewses. Of course, Zubinski and Dabrowski are in the primary seats, and then they have Gozowski taking the step down, I think, to fill in as the reserve driver there. So as if 2 Matthewses weren't enough, as I know the Maguire brothers, in Super League, I made the joke on the Twitter in the past saying too many Maguires. We've 3 many Matthewses this season.
Exactly, very common name in Poland, of course. So they've had to sort of work around that. But the Hyperion team, of course, moving on, I believe, to Super Lights after their FS1 campaign last year. So it will be interesting to see how they get on as we see Spinner, the Parker reserve driver for Lunark, negotiate. So that looked like one of the HGPs facing the wrong way.
Yes, indeed. So I'll take a look out for any more times that come along. Robin Mulling there for the Team Rookie Monsters P2 at the moment. So yeah, it's, the German driving number 37 will have a Scotsman, Daniel Scott, as his teammate. So those 2 coming up from Academy, and yeah, the Team Rookie Monsters, yeah, they'll be certainly ones to look out for, having the rookie branding on their team outfit, I suppose. So that could make things a little bit easier for them, or could make it twice as hard, because all the experienced drivers will know the number 30 and number 37 are rookie entrants. But of course, Pixelite, for example, they've got 2 rookies on board as well. Let's see if any of them are listed yet. Jonas Abler is 20th on the board at the moment. You can see his name just there, 5 seconds behind Machka's best time. There he is on track at the moment. Good timing. And then Isaac Clark as well. So he has raced across the GPVWC ladder before, but I'd consider him a rookie in this division. I don't see his name at the moment, but yeah, he should be somewhere. There he is, P6. Very good. So yeah, Isaac using his experience from other categories to give Pixelite a lot of encouragement so far. But of course, the 3 promoted teams, so we have the 3 new teams to talk about, but also 3 teams who got promoted from FS2 last year. I saw Jack Nichols, he was top of the leaderboard when I was getting my notes all together. At the moment, he's probably sitting somewhere. Where did he? Not on the server anymore, but he was one of the quicker drivers when I was taking a look. And then the owner driver, Scott Mitchell Malm, who I recognize from Baku last season, as well as obviously he ran the full campaign for his Kings Racing team. So they were the highest finishing team in FS2 that earned a promotion. They were 5th with 357 points. So they are one of the stronger teams who want to make an impression, and maybe they'll take inspiration from Jack Mayer, who went back to back with the FS2 and FS1 championships. So we'll see if they can make their impression here in the third tier. VMS Sun Edits Racing should be around as well. Yes, Justin van der Smissen, currently P7, will go on board with him now. Very experienced campaigner as well. So that team finished they finished 8th last season with 275 points, and they opted to make the jump. And then KKR, or Kaizen Kota Racing, and they are the third promoted team, an Australian founded team. There's Lucas Tylene. Now this is certainly one to talk about. I really enjoy the two drivers they've got signed up for 2024, and they're side by side appropriately for the cameras. Christers Filo, the Latvian, in the number 69, just behind Tylene at the moment. So these two drivers are very, very exciting, and I think they are definitely ones to watch as potential surprise packages. And they've performed quite well in FS1 when I've seen them. Svilo raced a lot for Rowan GP last year, and we saw some pretty encouraging results from him. And Tylene, when he was stepping in, I think it was the opening round last season at Imola, he pulled off one of the passes of the season on the last lap. So that certainly got some early viral coverage for himself. So yeah, now that he's got the the halo message there, we came from Roblox, so that's highly amusing. Fair play. That's one to watch out for. So a little bit of humor for KKR Racing, but in reality they should just be KKR, because the R stands for racing. So it's like saying ATM machine with the M standing for machine already, so it shouldn't really be doubled up. But yeah, I'll just call them KKR, and that will solve that problem. There we go. So, yeah, very, very encouraging signs for that new team. Then, of course, the all-new teams. I talked about the rookie monsters. We've also got 100 to 1. Are they anywhere in the server? Probably not at the moment. But they've got Archie Mowat and Sandro Van Sand ready to go for this season. So we'll keep an eye out for them. And then MS Performance are the third and final newcomers. They've Cas Rietveld and Viktor Ivanov, a Dutch and Bulgarian combination there. So we'll hopefully see more from them as pre-season carries on. So Menno Klont in P4 as well, very experienced driver. Everyone knows Menno. There he is. The gravel kicked up. Yeah, Multiforce. They briefly held the Drivers' Championship lead with Mike Quint. He's currently P14. Menno's number, ironically, I suppose. Mike Quint had a phenomenal run in the championship from about Australia towards Canada. He was the top contender in the championship. Unfortunately, it unraveled from that stage. From Britain onwards, his ambitions to win the title just totally fell apart, and he had barely any points to brag about. From that point on, he DNF'd 4 times. He didn't get to participate in a lot of the races either, so hopefully Mike has enjoyed the time off after the Brazilian Grand Prix last season and will be ready to go. He'll be definitely one of the big favourites to get honours early on. Of course, we cannot discount Netrex. We haven't talked about Netrex yet either, so that team were best of the rest at P3 last season with Carlos Martin and Amari Watson. Definitely the all-star teams there, but Amari has a new teammate in Harry Smith, so number 5 and number 10 an English duo. So Harry Smith participated with Pixelite and Rowan GP last season, so yeah, that is an excellent pairing, and that'll be definitely ones to look out for on our season opener. They'll definitely want to go all the way in the championship this season with Spark and TOP, of course, they're promoted, so they won't be a factor anymore in FS1 in 2024. So yeah, I'm sure there was certainly a lot of talk about who is the best driver. There was I think the vote via a Eurovision style ballot that people had going a few weeks ago, I think it was, and yeah, it's certainly one to look back on at the end of the year to see if everyone's predictions came true or not. But yeah, definitely the top 3 teams to look out for based off last season will be Netrex, Malta and HGP. So HGP keeping the same lineup from last season. Here's Frank Hamming driving the number 73. He had some incredible consistency last year. You could hardly take him out of the point. Let me just double check exactly how big his streak was. Yeah, so he was 4th in the championship, and basically from Spain all the way to Abu Dhabi race 1, he got at least a points finish. But the elusive win, I think he won a race, but he was taken away from him after a steward's inquiry. So Frank Hamming, so close to a victory, but it didn't quite fall for him. And then Wopke Hoekstra, definitely another very well established name in our series. I don't think he was quite as satisfied with his season, so probably one of those drivers that will appreciate the break. And Hamming just telepits to signal the end of that stint. So here's Daniel Scott, our team rookie monster from Scotland. 20 P9s, that's really impressive so far. About 1.3 seconds off Machka's table topping time there, the 143.044. So we'll see if this lap time coming up will deliver any further improvements for Daniel. A bit of traffic in the way, but shouldn't be too much of a problem. Anyone else I haven't mentioned yet? I think, yeah, Parallax Volpino, formerly known as BuildSim Volpino, they're back for another season. They have Balas Bex, or Beckus, a name unfamiliar to me, but I'm sure we'll get to know him as the year goes by. There he is currently in the pits. But of course, Patrick Roszak, who had some decent results last year, but I suppose Maciej Hille was perhaps the protagonist for that team. He had some fantastic results. Yeah, Patrick Roszak is ready to go for another year. And just looking at the championships table again from last season. So yeah, I was talking about Wopke Hoekstra, of course. His best result was in 8th place in the Deluge back in the Nürburgring. That was his best result all season. But yeah, it was a case of what might have been for Wopke. But Roszak finished 20th in the championship, and he got a best result of 2nd in Sakir all the way back, well, certainly 11 months ago. He got that fantastic podium, but Maciej Hille got the bulk of the points for the team rebranded as Parallax Volpino. Yeah, that's another team worth watching, and I think I've mentioned everybody, but I'm just on my own for the moment. Ed will be back very soon, so hopefully I've mentioned all the 15 teams on their drivers, but it all depends on who is currently setting lap time. So Mulling, the other rookie monster, making this a really promising session for that brand new team. I suppose Mattia Bassoni is Pixelate's, I think, reserve driver. Yes, he is indeed. So yeah, Bassoni. He's just actually exiting the pit, so great timing there, just to pick his name out at random. Yeah, so I saw Tom Parker got a personal best first sector in his last lap. Don't notice if that was an improvement or not. So let me have a look. One who's better lap time. Yeah, it's all really all about getting everything under control. I haven't really seen the new car in action, but obviously the new rear wing is something that sticks out very quickly, even for compared to last season, that's something that immediately strikes me as a big change. But yeah, it's all about how the fundamentals work underneath the car. Make sure it has the rear end grip, has the traction in the slipstream, for example. So yeah, David de Vries, he'd be alongside Justin van der Smissen. So yeah, Dutch double line up there as well. So yeah, really exciting to see what VMS Sonetics can do after their promotion. The 8th place from FS2 last season. So that's actually he got a green sector 1 as well, so just shy of his personal best there. 145.8 is his PB, but a 145.9 as he loses the back end there and takes a heavy hit off the curb, so he goes straight back to the pits to try again. So yeah, this technical part of the Korean international circuit definitely is one. If you can think back to the early 2010s in F1, the first sector's so quick with the massive straights, and then sector 2 has a few S's, and then the final sector 3 very, very technical, slower speed corners. And you can see Tom Parker's missing a few of his apexes there. Yeah, has been a long time since I've seen this track in action. There you go, the double left-hander. That's something you definitely have to remember. Then swings into the right, and yeah, onto the curbs now before what used to be the pit lane entry. So this will be the final complex corners coming up now. So it's be 15 now, 16, then the loopy right-hander, 17, and then 18. So the pit entry was really dangerous back in the day. I do remember that. Yeah, this is a completed lap here for Tom Parker. Does it compare? No, it would have been an out lap, of course. So yeah, he's done 51 laps overall in the session. Of the people on the server, that is the most of anybody. But of course, yeah, that doesn't factor in anyone who did their laps earlier on this evening. Yeah, would have full results, I'm sure, on GPVWC's in-house websites. Yeah, that'll be the go-to destination to find out everything that happened earlier on in the session. Yeah, lovely onboard camera shot of the back straight here, heading to the slow left-hander. And yeah, now for a right and a left, got to mind the brake bias to the rear. Now this will be the start of sector 2. Uphill, slight left into the right. Now another quick left before it stables out, and then the slightly slower left, watching out for the sausage curbs on the inside. And really, yeah, that's where we saw him a lap ago, and it's still proving to be a challenge here for Tom. Yeah, now we'll see the real, the hard braking and the hard steering. Got to make sure any oversteer moments are caught well in advance. Yeah, this looks pretty good for Tom. We'll see how his splits are looking. Nothing so far. Oh, he's crashed it. Oh dear. Oh, it's a heavy one. So yeah, that's something to bear in mind ahead of the curtain raiser. Yeah, we double check the calendar for you in just a moment to have it pinned. Yeah, it should be handy enough to get. So that's the action replay from my YouTube. I'm just having a look there to see exactly what happens. Yeah, just sudden slide and went into the inside barrier. So yeah, our calendar for 2024, the first 6 rounds before we have a spring break. We have Melbourne, of course, the traditional curtain raiser that returns to its traditional slot, and then we have Jeddah, which was in the middle of last season, which unfortunately didn't get broadcast due to technical difficulties. I hope to see that one in all its glory on the 21st of March. So the first fortnight is the 7th of March. Then into the month of April, we have Suzuka and Shanghai. So Shanghai makes a return. That'll be the 18th of April. Then May 2nd, it's Imola for the San Marino Grand Prix. Round 5, that one. And then Montreal, Canada on the 16th of May. So yeah, every second Thursday, from the 7th of March down to the 16th of May will be the first 6 rounds. Then we have the spring break on May 30th, returning to Barcelona on June 13th, and then the Red Bull Ring on the 27th of June. So yeah, that's the first half of our 16-round calendar. I'm sure we'll give Ed something to talk about when he's ready to come back. Isaac Clarke there, we mentioned him, the American, who would have had some experiences probably back earlier in the decade in GPVWC, but it'd be interesting to see how he gets on in the Pixelate team. They were brand new to FS1 last year. They were founded last year, but they found it a little bit tough having to start from scratch, and they were bottom in the table with the 19 points overall. That'll be well worth a fresh start, see how they get on, and there's plenty of room to grow, that's for certain.
Hey, Eoin, sorry about that. I was just distracted by Isaac Clarke having a massive crash in the Pixelate at the final corner where he lost it in a major way. But that is
yes, very much so.
Such an easy corner to mess up because you come in with such high speed and the rotation sort of comes suddenly at the back end's a bit unstable. That's exactly what can happen there. So Isaac Clarke, who's I believe is he the American driver that's driving the Pixelate this season, and he's done a couple of Super League races before, if I remember correctly, but I don't think
that's correct. Yeah,
he did particularly well, if I remember correctly. Let me see what I've written down in my notes. No points certainly, but he did. I think he finished 2 races in 17th and 18th, then. So he got some finishes under his belt at a pretty high level. But this might be a little bit more his level FS1, because people who go straight into Super League often can struggle a bit and then go down a few classes, and then suddenly they're on the podiums and winning races. So sometimes a different class, different level of competition can allow you to build up your confidence a bit more, and then maybe a bit later you'll be ready for Super League level. But often you see people like Micah who are just come out right out of the blocks and are just really quick no matter what they're driving.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I tried to fill in as much background information as I could based off what I had put into my notes. I mentioned perhaps the lineup that interests me the most in terms of the entire grid. I think Tylene and Svillo. Oh dear, that's a Parallax Volpino battered and bruised at the final complex there. That would have been Beckus. I think Balas Beckus would have crashed there. So that's one name that I don't have any background information on, I'm afraid, apart from his nationality. But I was just saying earlier, my personal favourite lineup out of anybody, I think it's Kaizen Kota Racing with Tylene and Svillo. They're 2 drivers that, with a full campaign under their belts, they're really, really exciting.
Exactly. Tylene, I think, was especially excited. Got that 5th place in one of the reverse grid races at Abu Dhabi, I believe it was, when he competed at the back end of last year for, was it Frisland? Oh, and there's the other man, Christos Villo. Just about to speak about him, KKR. Yeah, of course, the only Australian team in the league owned by, is it Matthew McKinnon? Yes, it's Matthew McKinnon, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah. So we've got our Super Swede, and then our luridly sliding Latvian Christos Villo in the KKR. I couldn't think of a creative one for L, so I just went with that as he clobbers the curb at the first corner. But Svillo did really well to save that one, actually. So Svillo probably a little bit less, I don't want to say less highly rated, because he's got 18 FS1 races under his belt for Parallax Volpino and Rowan GP. He finished 12th, was his best finish last year, and he got the fastest lap in the season finale, despite the fact that he didn't finish the race. It says, "We came from Roblox," it says on the front of the Halo. So clearly that's the young driver scheme, because didn't Alex Lahoo, Maggio, a couple others, also Denahan, I think, he even came from Roblox racing originally as well. So it's great for people who don't have particularly great computers that can't manage off factors. Whoa! He's slow drifting through the complex. So Svillo is he's certainly got an interesting setup on that KKR today, isn't he?
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, a lot of sparks. So he's really pushing the limit of his ride height. The Yeongam circuit. It's pretty flat, I suppose. It's mainly the sector one after the second long
wrestling that car.
Yeah, he's really pushing everything he can out of this car. And I also brought up the official calendar, so I had the pinned comment from probably the awards day when the calendar was finalized. So I'll bring that up again. Just a moment. Yeah, I talked about the first 8 races, the ones just close to and then after the spring break. Whereas the second half of the season, a lot of familiar tracks, so nothing too surprising there. But Germany goes from the Nürburgring back to the Hockenheim ring, for example. So that's one big change coming in the summer.
Exactly, and that was Nürburgring last year was my first FS1 commentary as well, so
Yeah.
great to get back to Germany and Hockenheim Ring. A very, very different circuit, of course, and great. In fact, I think Hockenheim won the best circuits for overtaking, especially with that hairpin at the end of that sort of long curved left hand, which is essentially a straight because you take it flat out, especially in the FS1 car. But yeah, will be interesting because the weather did affect things. We see Micah parking up by the side of the road, I think, just to get out of people's way there and going back to the pits.
Yeah, and then I suppose true to life as well, we've Baku and Suzuka swapping places pretty much. So Baku, rather than being in the first third of the season, it's actually way into the deep end in September. So that's going to be a long, long wait. But yeah, when I was with Yusuf, we were together for the Baku race. That was a very memorable one with qualifying. And then the 2 races as well. Another really jam-packed session there. So yeah, Scott Mitchell-Malm, who's with King's Racing, he was in attendance that day. He was with Santen as a substitute driver. So yeah, we'll see how he gets on with his own team and his teammate Jack Nichols. It was very quick before the broadcast officially started. So yeah,
I think you're getting the 2 Mitchells mixed up,
Am I getting them mixed up?
because I believe Lunark is Bradley Sullers and Luke Mitchell, and King's Racing is Scott Mitchell-Malm and
Sure. My bad.
and Jack Nichols, who are moving up, of course, from FS2.
Pardon me then, my bad.
No Kings or MS performance cars I noticed in this test, actually, so it's a little bit quiet out there, surprisingly.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. Nichols was here earlier, but he's out with the server, so his time dropped off the leaderboard that we have at the moment, so we'll know exactly how quick he was when every result is tabulated. But at the moment, yeah, we just have the 17 active drivers at the moment, so yeah, we would have had the maximum 30s. Menno Clant there getting quite wide, so that corner in particular really punishing these FS1 cars and their brand new rear wing configurations.
Yeah, Menno desperately trying to chase down Micah's time, and of course I think he had Micah potentially signed as a reserve at the FSR Academy team before, unfortunately, well, from his point of view, unfortunately, but I think positively from a certain team owner's point of view that I won't divulge here, that the potential FS2 deals sort of start to come together. So Menno sort of will have to look elsewhere, I think, for a new driver, but he desperately wants to at least keep up with Micah, show that he can still do it. We know Menno is very bullish going into every season. A lot of drivers in FS1 have been very playing down their chances, I think, and Menno is certainly not one of them. But we'll see if he can live up to his confidence, which is always great to see, to be fair. In terms of, you were talking about lineups that look exciting, and you said KKR was the one you were really focused on with Feilin and Zeeuw. I think there's a couple of really interesting ones. I think Mike Quint at Multiforce GP is got to be one of the standouts. I think if you're basing it off of last season, then him and Grant Camming were sort of the 2 drivers that finished highest in the championship, and unfortunately Quint was leading the points and then had a bunch of terrible races in the second half of the season, often where his connection would just drop out and he wouldn't be able to take part at all, or he would have wheel issues. Just everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and I think everyone at Multiforce is really crossing their fingers for Mike Quint to have a better season and potentially challenge for that championship, because like I said at the beginning, must have been 20-30 minutes ago now, it's pretty wide open this season. In terms of other teams, we talked a little bit about Lunark. Butcher and Mitchell have both had a few races as Frank Hamming arrives sideways into a corner there, so that's not good. That's not a good omen for him. But and HEP, who they didn't. HEP, they had a solid season last year, but Frank Hamming fourth in the points, but he never quite got that win, did he, that I think he would have been hoping for. And HEP, it feels like they've been slowly shuffling down the order every season with Hoekstra and Hamming at the wheel at the moment. And certainly Frank Hamming, you can't fault him, his effort. He certainly, once he gets in that car, he pushes 110% and is especially good in the reverse grid races, the race twos as well. But often he's not the best qualifier, and often I think Menno was talking to me a while ago and he says, just think what Frank Hamming could do if he practiced a little bit more. I think that's a fair point when you look at where Frank often qualifies for race ones. It gives him so much work to do, and we even see it in this session down a 10th, 1.2 seconds off the pace, so certainly he will want to improve on that. Another driver I think to look at, I'm looking at drivers rather than teams at the moment, aren't I, is Mr. Giuseppe Saracino, who placed third at Silverstone, what was EP Lab, and is now Griffon Esports. They've renamed the team after the mighty mythical creature, the Griffin, of course. Yep. So Saracino, of course, he also competed in FSR Academy last season, where he finished fourth. And I think him doing a full season, he could be a real wild card to watch out for at Davide Capruzzi's team. And he's going to be alongside Philip Koenig, who's very experienced, but he's had a bit of a lean period recently. He was only in the top 10 on 4 occasions last year, so I think Koenig will be looking to put his experience to good use, so we can expect him to maybe be at his strongest in the early rounds while all the rookies are still getting up to speed.
Yeah, I suppose his former team at Friesland were relegated to FS2.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, so we think about those teams that are either promoted from last season. Obviously TOP and Spark are the big two, and TCS Off got a full rebrand as well, I believe. They're like
True North Motorsport.
Full North. Yeah, something like that, yeah.
They've really embraced that Canadian part of their heritage, essentially, which is great to see, because they're the north of North America, of course, Canada, so it makes sense to call themselves True North. And they're going up to Super Lights, and along with the likes of Hyperion and a couple others as well, so that's going to be really interesting to see how they get on, because they've had a lot of quick drivers through those doors. The likes of Alex Lahou, Loic Moynier we saw in action last season, but also the likes of, Wasserman, Julian Klaffenbach, we saw last year, was one of the youngest point scorers as well. Had that great fight with Jack Mayer in Abu Dhabi.
Excellent recall there. Yeah, what a drive that was at the time. The drivers are in the server at the moment. It's down to 16 names. Mashka has the bragging rights of everyone at the moment, and we're checking him out once again, going through another lap, crossing the line for perhaps his out lap, so he's trying a full quality sim again. I'd imagine he's been going through mostly recently he's been going through most hot laps and then returning to the pits, and he has done some race simulations as well. Let's see if he gets on with this time, as more yellows are waving.
Yeah, this may be a test session, and also it's on a Tuesday, so that's also part of the reason why I had to miss it, because I had to quickly eat some dinner, which I just had cooking in the 20 minutes after I got home. But anyway, long story. But I think availability for some of the teams and drivers is not quite the same as you see Micah. Full opposite lock there in the complex. This is turns 10, 11, 12, I think. That's such a difficult set of corners, because not only have you got very high curbs, you sort of have to be very precise and technical on what's otherwise got a pretty fast track here in South Korea.
Yeah, it really does vary in its challenge. So we're in the middle sector, I believe, right now, so it's a little bit more of a sweeping mid-speed corners, and then it just transforms into a near street circuit with the walls enclosing on top of you nearly. So double apexes all the way around. A touch of the grass, similar to what happened to Tom Parker. He's lost his front left suspension, and that's a banded lap time, I'm afraid. Yeah, these are the sort of risks that the drivers need to take, just so that when it comes to Melbourne and their very narrow walls, particularly in Sector 1, yeah, they do need to test the limits as much as they can before the competition really gets started.
Yeah, somebody just completely looped it round ahead of Justin van der Smissen in the VMS Sun edits. There's his teammate David De Vries, of course, rookie going into this season, needs to get as many laps under his belt as he can. But van der Smissen, very, very quick in FS2, got a podium in Saudi Arabia, I believe. And VMS, one of those teams promoted from FS2 last year. So, yeah, owned, of course, by Hans Sonneveld in the Netherlands. So he's had a lot of success. I believe he was ERC Formula E champion a while back. They've had some pretty good showings in endurance racing as well. So great to see VMS, the Dutch team, in FS1 and slowly building their way up the ladder. I think there's an old saying, the sun never sets on VMS Sun Edit. So let's see if that's true this season, because I think De Vries, he'll have a lot to learn, but he so far in the test, he's not been too bad. He's ahead of Svillo by about a tenth, and he's been getting lots of laps under his belt, which is probably more important thing as we look at Bassoni, the reserve driver for Pixelate. I believe he might have been the one we saw looping it round earlier, but lovely black and orange livery on that Pixelate car. I think VMS, certainly their livery is sort of work in progress by the looks of things, because it's just all black for the most part, apart from the rear wing.
Yeah, I suppose there are a few days left until you have to submit your livery for the season, and that's unfortunately just lost the back end there. I think it would have been turn 5 or thereabouts, so that lap unfortunately falls away. I know that would have been turn 11, I'd say. Turn 11,
yeah, it was sector 2, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But that's exactly what happens when the rear spin up and they arrive at the corner before the front tyres do, which is never ideal, because you can't really steer with the rear wheels when they're facing that way. At least not very easily.
No, certainly not. Yeah, it's still stable at the top. Yeah, pushing hard again is Mateusz Maszka. He'll really want to just make sure his ability to shine as reserve driver, if it ever comes, yeah, he'll be ready to go. So yeah, he certainly will be attracting some interest with this performance so far.
Yeah, I wonder if Alphabet will be questioning their driver choice with Russo and Lucchini. It is only testing, of course, but over 2 seconds off the pace from their reserve driver. So Micah certainly turning a lot of heads with his performance. Like I said, very much man of the hour at the moment, and certainly looking to make a name for himself and also make a bit of an impression on the wall there. So he's absolutely pushing the limits, and why not? It is a test, so why not set the fastest time and blow everyone away? So that's great to see. We also see, I did misremember the Hyperion are actually staying for another season in FS1. They didn't get to move up to Super Lights. I think I might be getting them mixed up with a different Polish squad. But we also see Gazowski and Omari Watson, who, for many people's favourites, Menno did a poll, I think, in Discord server. A lot of people, the overwhelming favourite was Omari Watson. So he's certainly a very, very popular driver, but I think it's fair to say Omari was running very, very strongly in quite a few races, and then I think back to Hungary, where I was commentating, where he was holding on to second in race 1, and then just went too far over the curbs in the final sector, and with like 3 or 4 laps to go, just went into the wall and lost his front wing, which was a little bit embarrassing. But to be fair, back end of the season, he did get a win in race 2 at Monza, if I remember correctly, and he had some other very, very strong performances too. So it could be Watson's time to step up, especially with Carlos Martin moving on and Harry Smith moving into the other seat at NetRX. We know Harry Smith pretty experienced. He's sort of been a NetRX regular for a long time, as we see Jonas Abler, the South African, just looping it around. It feels like the Pixelate drivers are struggling to keep it in a straight line here on the exit some of these corners, but nice stylish recovery there from the South African.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, because where do you look at Abler's name on the wiki? or on GPVWC.com itself. He's got Germany as well as part of his nationality, so
dual national, of course.
Yeah, he could be a dual
there's a
national.
lovely new Netrex livery Omari's showing off here.
Yeah, looks very, very nice. Yeah, so they've moved from the sort of grey to white. So yeah, TOP had that sort of ownership of the white with green neon, so yeah, it is a chance for Netrex. Perhaps it's a good omen. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, we're leaving, so you can have it.
Yeah. So we'll see if that slight adjustment to their paint scheme delivers any significant look or not. So yeah, that's one thing of. Yeah, but it seems like yeah, the dual national, so it might be worth marking that down actually. Jonas Abler, German / South African. That's a new one on me anyway.
Yeah, I think one of my drivers, Fahid Ahmed, is actually dual national. He's English, but also has a bit of Bangladeshi heritage. So he changed the flag to the Bangladeshi one. I think literally just so that we didn't have an all-English team, because he wanted to differentiate out a little bit, which is cool. I'm cool with that. And as long as Fahid has been doing his training sessions with Mr. Luke Mitchell, who's running third in this session, of course, for Lunark, ahead of his FS2 debut in Melbourne, then I'm more happy with whatever flag he wants to run under. There is Gazowski for Hyperion, of course. Very, very accomplished Hyperion in endurance racing. They're the reigning LMP2 champions in the Esports Endurance Series, and they're currently leading that championship as well, although they've been having a great fight all season with the Hungarian team, Go Team Racing. Feels like every EES round. We've got another one coming up this Saturday as well at the Nürburgring. Every round we've had so far, they've contested the lead in LMP2 class with some fabulous battles. And of course we've got Gazowski and his teammate, which is I think it's Dabrowski, isn't it? Because Gazowski is the test driver, of course. It's Sabinski and Dabrowski who are the main drivers, and Dabrowski in particular, big part of that endurance lineup. Amazing defensive driver. So a lot of them very, very experienced, but they've yet to really get big results under their belts in FS1 particularly. So this could be Hyperion, their big time to shine, to transfer all that knowledge and experience from endurance racing into GPVWC. And I think they're going to be one of the dark horses, of course. Hyperion, named after one of the moons of Saturn, of course. So, and also Roller Coaster in Poland, I believe, shares that same name.
Very good. So, yeah, Mari Watson has recently joined the server. His first lap time is probably less than a banker. Wouldn't quite be what he's aiming for. 6 seconds behind the tabletopper Mashka. So there we go. We'll see how the number 5 gets on.
Oh, I love the green wheels here. Sorry, I got distracted.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the green inside rims. That's a very interesting touch. You don't see that very often. Yeah, we'll see if Amari can get himself into those 143s. I suppose that's the median it's aimed for, whereas Mashka, the only one in the 42s as of right now. Yeah, 56.6. A little bit more respectable. Let's see if he carries this on, Ed.
Exactly, and I had the absolute pleasure to meet Omari Watson along with very many other GPV drivers and team owners and members at the GPVWC day at Milton Keynes back in December, and Omari was particularly complimentary. In fact, he said a lot of nice things about my commentary, mainly because I think it was in praise of him, but but admittedly, yeah, he didn't have to do that. So yeah, it was lovely to meet, and also race against a couple of those guys, Jack Mayer, Dylan Platt, and Maxime Boulier, of course, completely trashed me in the go-karting that I hadn't go-karted in 3 years, as Omari Watson does well to hold on to that one, just going into the final couple of corners. I think I did somewhat respectively, although I think Caitlin Penny certainly outclassed me in the commentator karting stakes.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. It's certainly a great tradition within GPVWC. So yeah, Watson finds another bit of time there into the 147s now, so that is a little bit more representative, but yeah, still a ways to go as he gets the hang of the track and the car, of course. So yeah, we'll hopefully see Watson at his best before the checkered flag waves. And Gazowski, similar with him, he only joined recently. He's done 4 laps, so he probably on a race sim to start with. There he is right now, as I mentioned him. So yeah, he's probably on another short stint just to make sure he has everything under control.
Yeah, it's an
And
awkward
Harry
position
Smith
for
is there as
Gazowski,
well.
isn't it? Oh, yes, you're right. Harry Smith now joins the service, so Netrex very much in attendance and looking to make an impact in the last 20 minutes. But for Hyperion, it is a slightly awkward position for Gazowski because he was one of the main race drivers, him and Zabinski, sort of last season, and now he's sort of been demoted to the reserve role in favor of Dabrowski. So it is an interesting situation. But Gazowski at least getting some laps under his belt, having some fun out there. That data will certainly be helpful for Hyperion for their main drivers. Because even if you can't get either of your main drivers in, if your test driver is getting some laps in, that data can always be used to sort of measure yourself against in sort of private sessions or just give a decent idea of about where they are with their setups at least. So yeah, whoever you can get on track, as long as they're doing laps, then it will help. As we see a appearance from Victor Ivanov from MS Performance, of course, the reigning FSR Pro champion, of course. So he'll be looking in that 44 number he carries over, of course, because he's not reigning champion here. It's in FSR, of course. So he'll be looking to get that number 1 on again. And I was bigging up Ivanov a lot pre-season, and he was saying, "No, don't big me up too much. I got to learn this car, and I don't want too many expectations put on me. So we'll be lukewarm and encouraging and positive, but we won't put any expectation on Ivanov to blow everyone away in the season opener. I think he's probably still going to be picking things up and learning at his own pace. But the livery on that MS car, it's very eye-catching.
Yeah, it's almost like an art car or something like that. So I'd have to see the.
And Harry Smith, of course, owns that team, doesn't he? So it's in a way a bit of a Netrex B team because Cass Rietveld and Victor Ivanov both Netrex drivers.
Yes, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, a little bit of competition there between the two teams that probably have a close association. So yeah, that should be one to watch as well. So yeah, we'll see how things develop for Ivanov and his teammate Kaz Rietveld. So yeah, two very new drivers to me. So I hope to get to know them a bit more as well.
Yeah, so both very, very quick. Cass Rietveld, of course, sort of was FSR president last year. Had a huge job, and unfortunately, he had to step down. And well, I say unfortunately, it was good news for Cameron Roger because he was very, very happy to step back in, I think, and take over his duties. But I think Cass is very, very excited to get back behind the wheel, and he was the FSR Academy champion back in 2019. So both those MS cars. They don't have a lot of GPV experience as Menno Klonk gets the braking all wrong over the curb into turn 1 and finds the wall and the pit exit. So that's probably not what he had in mind, is it?
No, absolutely not. It would have been an awkward situation for anyone coming onto the scene there if they were in range. But thankfully, no one was coming out of the pits when Menno unfortunately slid off there. So yeah, on board here with Luke Mitchell now, so he will be eager to see if he can find the remaining 0.6 of a second he has to find to overtake Majka. But a bit of traffic at the moment, and oh, that's gonna be too close for comfort there.
On the VMS cars, just spinning out the way there. Oh dear.
So, yes, someone based on the onboard supports Charlton Athletic. There's Luke Mitchell. Yeah, there you go. You can see the Charlton Athletic badge just underneath the halo there. So yeah, there's a Charlton fan among the Lunark team. So yeah, it's always fun when motorsport and football mixes, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, certainly. We had a whole category, didn't we, devoted to that Super League Formula.
Yes.
I'm sure Luke Mitchell would have fit right in at. But the omens for Luke Mitchell, of course, reigning FS2 champion, going in with a team that's won races last year in the hands of Moritz Kropp. And has got two really, really good drivers in Luke Mitchell and Chris Butcher. Bradley Sellers also involved there, although he's also the team owner of Rookie Monsters as well, Bradley Sellers. So there's a small interest, but anyway, there's a lot of teams that have got close links with one another. As we see Ivanov take to the track, and It's still not the worst livery I've seen Victor Ivanov drive in. He had a bright pink and orange livery that he won his FSR Pro Championship in. That we nicknamed the Barbie car. This feels more like the children's art car, or BMW art car, to use a more charitable term, because it's got those BMW colours, blue, white, and red, essentially all over it, and a bit of pink too, in deference to his livery from last year, I think.
Yeah, if you squint, it kind of reminds me of the Pacific Grand Prix car.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Yeah, if you really want to get into your inspiration, then that's my 2 cents on the matter. But yeah, it's certainly more vibrant anyway. It's a lot more colour at the front in particular. So yeah.
It's great to see so many new teams as well in GPV this year, not just us, of course, in 100 Simulation and FS2. But we got the likes of 100 to 1, who we've not seen in action yet today. But they have got Sandra Van Sand, who's a very, very promising young Belgian driver who's done quite well in endurance racing. Has had a couple of outings here in FSR. And I forget who Sandra's teammate is going to be, but I believe they've signed, if I just look it up here, it's Archie Moat, of course, yes. Who was actually in here earlier, wasn't he, talking to us? So he's done a total of 10 academy races. So I think Sandro did some FS1 rounds for Alpha Delta about 2 years ago, and his best result was 10th at Silverstone. So the 100 to 1 squad have got they're a little bit unproven in their lineup, but they could spring a few surprises. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sandro Van Sand score a few points.
Yeah, I think the ability for perhaps the established pairings, they'll be favourites perhaps going into the first round. So they probably want to lock out the top 10 or 12, but yeah, they're definitely the 3 promoted teams and the 3 brand new teams. I'd love a shot, and those openings if they come up. Yeah, it's going to be so exciting to see how everyone gets on. Yeah, certainly the Volpino racing team, now that they're so you want to call it title sponsors, Parallax this year as opposed to Build Sim. Yeah, I suppose without Maciej Hilla around, they might be one that will want to use the experience of Roszak to get them through to start with. But yeah, certainly a lot of stable lineups as well, Ed. So yeah, that could really make things interesting for Melbourne.
just thought we saw Menno getting a bit sideways there, but yeah, Parallax Volpino. I don't know what Parallax is. It reminds me of that old 1974 film, The Parallax View, which is a conspiracy political thriller. It's quite famous at the time. But of course, Hiller was a big driving force. Has rightly been promoted into, I think, Super League, or is it Super Lights? It's one of the two he's gone up to. I forget which team. But yeah, Rozak started last season really strong, 4 top 7 finishes, and then he never finished inside the top 10 again and retired from about 8 races. So his second half of the season was really a bit of a drop off, sadly. So he'll be hoping to maintain a stronger start this time around. And like you say, there's that Hungarian rookie Bikis who's making his debut in the other car, and he's been doing a lot of the testing today, which is probably important for him to get laps under his belt, and he's been sort of mid-pack just behind the Alpha Deltas, so I think Bikis will be happy with that. The big standout in terms of the rookies has been Robin Mulling for Rookie Monsters, up in the top 4, 6/10 off of Micah, the other standout rookie, of course, although I think he currently isn't scheduled to take part in the FS1 full-time this season at least, as Robin Mulling is. And the German driver, of course, I looked up both of them. I know that his teammate Daniel Scott has got a couple of iRacing endurance wins under his belt. If I just go down and look at it, I think it was iRacing 24 hours of Spa and 12 hours of Road Atlanta, I think both with Rookie Monsters. So both of these drivers are taking part in endurance events and all sorts of different events in ACC iRacing and R-Factor 2, of course, but even though they're both new to the GPV ladder, so Robin Mulling's pace surprises both of us, but I think people who've seen him in action before maybe won't be too shocked to see him in the top 4 here.
Yeah, I just double checked there. Maciej is reserved for Green Stripes Racing, so
that's it. Yes,
where he's gone.
So Christos Zeeuw, who we saw struggling to keep the car pointed in a straight line, he is for KKR. He's posted a sort of FS1 car in the recycle bin, is what he's done there. So clearly he feels he prefers the 2023 car to the 24 car. But I'm sure with a bit of setup work.
Feelings about the 23 car as well. Some drivers really didn't enjoy how it behaved in certain setup configurations. It was quite hard to get set up sometimes. So yeah, I really do want to see the new look car make a real statement and get everyone excited for how things will develop. But yeah, obviously it's very, very difficult to make these custom mods absolutely perfect. But yeah, we'll see if Svilo, who I personally back to really make things a thrill to watch in the new season. Hopefully not too many others are as worried about the cars here, but yeah, we'll see how things develop.
I think maybe it's just the way Svilo drives, because he always likes to have it on the ragged edge. So, but that's sort of what this preseason test is for, to sort of get those setup gremlins out of the way. Like you say, Korea, a fairly flat track. Once we get to Melbourne, a proper sort of hybrid kind of street road course, essentially, with a couple of places where the walls are quite close. So that's where we might see is Villain really needing a bit more confidence underneath him. And but yeah, I think he'll be buoyed by the fact that you've got so much belief in him and Luca Filin, of course, to make a big impact. I think KKR and Matthew McKinnon will be pleased to hear you say that at the very least, Owen, because they probably, as a new team, moving up the ladder, because there's certainly a little bit of pressure to make an impression, especially at the start of the season, as Lucchini goes very close to the wall there without touching it. I mean, there was a cigarette paper in between him and the wall there.
Yeah, that's the thing about Yeongam. It really is such a dramatic change between the high speeds and then these walls that become so close. All of a sudden, he's abandoned that lap and he just parks it safely in pit lane so he can get into his garage and start all over again. And time is really flying now. 11 minutes and 5 seconds to go. We have Eoin as well. He's gotten going recently as well. Yeah, for the most part, most drivers are well past the 50 lap mark across the duration of the test. So yeah, it is really a case of using whatever time you've got now just to figure out is there anything you've left behind, and yeah, well, whether or not this track is it something that the driver enjoys, particularly with the sunny weather. It is really, really helpful to gauge these tire temperatures in hot conditions. That should be familiar to those in Bahrain, for example. Be baking hot there in the daylight, so yeah, this is really important to get your mileage. As we discussed loads of times last year, Ed, tire strategy really was crucial. Whether it be the race 1 qualifying, you had to start on your softs, or in the reverse grid. Do you want to pit halfway through or 3/4 and push to the end, or can you keep the tires going through an entire stint?
Yeah, exactly. We obviously race 1, it sort of becomes about pit stop strategy essentially because of the length of the race, and then race 2 essentially is do you try and get the mediums out to the end, or do you risk it on the softs, make an extra pit stop, and then try and make up the time by overtaking through the field. Some circuits you could do it, others it was a little bit harder, but usually the safe strategy would be to stay out on the mediums in race 2s. It was interesting. Luke Mitchell was having a little bit of chat about it on the Discord, where he was saying that he felt they should change it, the mandatory sort of tyre choice rule, where if you qualify in a certain time you have to race it. He felt they should be given free choice of tyres because they've getting rid of refueling this season. So it's now a legitimate strategy to sort of maybe start on the harder compound in race 1 and then pit for a softer compound later on, because that way you'll have less fuel. As we see Saracino leap up to second, and with a very impressive time there from the Italian in the Griffone car. He's gone straight onto the GPVWC sim racing logo there,
Yeah.
which is nice. A little bit of advertising there. I'm sure that's exactly what Giuseppe was thinking there. But yeah, impressive time. He's the only person who's got within 2/10 of Micah in the 42.7s. So the only other man in the 42s.
Exactly. He's kind of on his own ever since he set that time of anyone still on the server. So yeah, we'll know exactly how things have developed when we get the full log of the session. We'll see if
The track's starting to get into its best condition, isn't it? So this is where we might see a few hot lap zone.
Yes. Yes, that must be another BMS Sun edits in the way. So Bradley has backed off that lap, and he'll try and find the gap he requires. So here we go through the final pair of corners, 17, and then it just ever so gently turned it to turn 18. So you barely notice that corner most times, but in a race situation, if we ever came to the Korea International Circuit in a competitive session in the future, then yeah, that'd be one to watch if two drivers really got a fabulous launch and went side by side into the first corner. So yeah, this would be the prime overtaking point if it was a race situation here. The turn 3 hard braking right-hander.
Yeah, we did have an academy race here last year that was good fun as well. Where I think there was all sorts of carnage and mayhem, as there tends to be in GPV Academy. But yeah, look at Bradley Sellers. I think he's looking at Robin Mulling's time, and Robin is one of his drivers essentially because he owns that Rookie Monsters team. It's the team that probably Bradley Sellers is the most associated with, even though he's got those links, of course, as a reserve driver for Lunark. So he'll be wanting to try and keep Robin, as close as possible to him as he can, although, of course, he's also about half a second behind his teammate Luke Mitchell, of course, at the moment. So that could be quite a gap to overcome itself. But yeah, I think it's good to see a little bit of competition between these drivers from interrelated teams. And of course, the Netrex boys still a couple of seconds off the pace, but at least getting laps under their belt. And maybe since they arrived so late, I don't think we can expect too much from them really, because maybe they've got their thoughts on Melbourne already, and they feel maybe some of the times here are going to be a little bit irrelevant in the scheme of things.
So we have information that Harry hasn't really set a proper lap time yet. So just Remco to Zeeuw in my ear, just letting us know he hasn't really committed to a lap time just yet. So he has been on track 3 times, but on each of those laps he didn't actually cross the line to set a time. So we'll see if he's got one lap magic raring to go before time runs out. So teammate Watson, of course, there still trying to find his comfort, but he is on the harder tires. He's not really worried about qualifying pace. He just wants to sample his new car and see what happens.
Yeah, and it was the races where Omari would often hit trouble as well if it did happen. So this would be very, very sensible to focus on the long runs and setting consistent lap times that will serve him well in the race, rather than necessarily just trying to blow everyone away and do a Micah sort of lap.
Yeah, you may want to keep a few secrets to yourself if you can, so you don't want to reveal too much, especially if the spotlight will be upon you because of how successful you were in 2023.
And a successful team, Netrex, as well, aren't they? Runners up last year.
Yeah, third best last season.
They
were trying to compete with Spark. It came down to 5 points between the two, and just Netrex missed out. It just wasn't their day in Brazil with both cars. It was Martins who got a double podium, but Spark countered it with Vincent Gutt, of course, putting in marvelous performances as well to make that fight land in his team's in their hands. So yeah, really, really close in the battle for second last season, and I hope to see plenty more of that as well.
Yes, exactly, and it's really difficult to tell what the top 3 or top 5 teams are going to be this season, because we're sort of expecting Netrex definitely to be there. Lunark could potentially be up there again, like they were in the back half of last season when they were winning a lot of races. We could get a few surprises from the likes of Saracino at Griffon, Rookie Monsters with Robin Milling, Frank Hamming, of course, we expect to be strong for HGP. And then there's all the unknowns. There's the Ivanovs of this world, and of course whether Alpha Delta can get their act together with Lucchini and Russo as well. So a lot of big unknowns. We see two guys going completely off track at turn 2 there.
Yeah, so he's getting feisty. 3 minutes to go. Lucchini misses turn in completely, so he's got one last chance to complete his preseason test. Saracino wants to go all the way. I imagine he's getting that slightly closer now.
Looks like Ivanov set a personal best first sector 56.4, which is about 3/10 off the top 3 sort of pace.
Yeah, there he is now, so we'll follow him to see if this lap time can get him into the 146s at the very least. Yeah, again, 28.2 middle sector. That's pretty handy. So this could be a gain of 2 or 3 places if this last sector goes to plan. So let's see how he gets on. Yeah, that's smooth. Bit of a hit on the sausage curb, and that should be. He's gone up, has he? No, he hasn't actually, but it must have been just.
He might have gone off track somewhere.
Yeah, maybe it was invalidated.
If you looked, it's an invalidated lap then, so we're getting confirmation from Remco there that he did just corner cut ever so slightly. It did look a little bit like he was being a bit tentative in the final set, ever so slightly in the final sector, so they'll have to regroup and go again. But yeah, lots of certainly got to say the 3 rookies, Micah, Saracino, well, Saracino did get a podium last season, so he's not a true rookie, but it is his first full season. But it's great to see them being the top 3 here, because that's certainly not what I don't think too many people were expecting. Although I knew how good Saracino was from FSM Academy, of course, but yeah, it will be interesting to see if that form translates when we get the season started proper, or if the experience of the likes of Hamming, Clont, Luke Mitchell to an extent, having half a season more or less under his belt, and the people who've done sort of full campaigns in the lower tiers of FS2 as well, whether that will help them too, that experience.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, if Jack Meir, he did the double, FS2 champion 2022 and FS1 champion 2023, so yeah, that route is the most logical, and in Meir's case it really paid off, so he'll be the standard bearer for anybody who has graduated from FS2 and wants to test themselves in the 3rd tier of GPVWC. Of course, Balas Vekis, yeah, he's brand new to me anyway, so I believe this is very, very first entry in a GPVWC championship, so yeah, that could be his alternative. He just wants to use his skills straight away, and the checkered flag will be coming out in 10.98 seconds, so yeah, this will be the very last lap time unless he can cross the line. No, he'll be too far back. It'll be 15-16 he's in now, so yeah, he won't be able to complete any more laps, I'm afraid, but let's see if it's any good. Yeah, so he's well clear of the sausage curb this time. And is an improvement? No, it doesn't look like it. That's a shame. Yeah, he's about a second and a bit off what he had as a personal best. Lucchini, purple, sector 1. Mitchell had green, sector 1. Mitchell there, not quite. Oh, he's very close though, just a 10th of a second. And he loops it. Oh, Saracino. Yeah, he's purple. So yeah, the times are really tumbling. So yeah, let's see if, yeah, of course, I suppose Mashka is now out of the server, so yeah, that would mean he has the purple, but it could be a 142 just to cap it all off.
Yeah, what was it? 42.7, wasn't it?
7, yeah.
We've got to remember that as people rapidly leave the server before they've even crossed the checkered flag. Watson set 46.5 on, was it the hard tyres or the mediums? That's actually a pretty decent lap. He's the only one who tried a tyre other than the softs, I think, in terms of doing long runs. So he's certainly keeping his powder dry. He's got something under his sleeve. But here comes Saracino finishing the lap. It's at 1:42.715, so almost exactly. I think it's slightly faster than Micah's time there. So that feels like a statement of intent from the Griffin driver. I think Saracino knows he could have. There's a big chance to shine this season.
Yeah, I suppose the Grifone team, with the experience of EP Lab, they might be under the radar quite a bit. That could be their signal of intent. They don't want to be rooted to the also ran. They want to do a lot better, get well past the 52 points total they earned last season. So yeah, that's a signal of intent that'll hopefully show that they're gonna be on the warpath and make sure they get loads of points throughout the 16 rounds coming up from the 7th of March onwards, Ed.
Exactly, as we see Lucchini set a 1:43.6, which is a slightly better time in the Alpha Delta, luckily for him. But yeah, certainly, if you finish 13th in the championship, things need to change, and it makes sense that they promoted by far one of their best drivers, Giuseppe Saracino, to a full-time seat after his podium and a 4th place in the 2 races at Silverstone. I think he really showed a huge amount of potential, and it would be ridiculous to waste it, as we see Lucchini doing some grass cutting as he ends the session then. Only 4 drivers still in the service, sadly, so it'd be difficult to remember everyone's times.
Yeah, but definitely keep an eye out on GPVWC.com. That should be the go-to place to find the complete lap time order. So yeah, this is a little bit misleading. Yeah, these graphics will be very, very vital to the broadcast when we get going in Australia. So I suppose, yeah, the bragging rights, the drivers that stayed in the server to the checkered flag, Saracino fastest, but Jack Nichols was very quick from earlier on, and obviously Majka, his time was the benchmark for the duration of the stream, Ed. So yeah, we don't have all the information to hand, but no doubt everyone.
I just went back and looked. Micah set a 1:42.772. Saracino set a 1:42.715. So not a whole lot in it, but Saracino definitely ends the session the fastest with that time at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. So there we go. We've completed our first stream together in 2024. So yeah, the countdown begins. Just a matter of about 1.5, well, nearly 2 weeks to go. So yeah, we'll be very, very excited to have that coming up. So yeah, 16 days to be precise. So there we go. And yeah, I suppose we can get straight to our farewell bid. So yeah, make sure you're around for Melbourne on Thursday, March 7th. But until then, for myself, Eoin Harmon, Remco Zeeuw has helped out with our cameras and our broadcasts in general. So thank you very much to Remco there. And then, of course, yourself, Ed, any final thoughts?
Not too many. I think it's going to be really fun to see how the rookies get on. But I think Watson there at the back with doing those times on the mediums. I think he probably knows that there's a great chance of a championship here, and he doesn't need to set huge headline times in testing. When you get to Melbourne, I think the pitch is going to look very, very different indeed. And I expect the rookies maybe might qualify well, but in the races, expect those with a couple of seasons under their belts to really shine and be fighting each other for the title.
Yeah, well said. But until then, thanks very much for your time, Ed. It's great to have you back.
No worries.
And we'll see you for the season opener on Thursday, the 7th of March. So thanks for watching. Goodbye for now.